The 2025 season is turning into a nightmare for the Commanders. And what Magic Johnson just said should have everyone concerned. While our star linebacker is getting exposed week after week, the organization just confirmed another devastating loss on the defensive line. 3 bombs that are wrecking everything we built last year. And I'm going to tell you exactly why this is worse than most people realize. That 44-22 loss to the Cowboys wasn't just a beatdown on the scoreboard. It was confirmation that this 2025 campaign is the total opposite of what we lived through in 2024. And when Magic Johnson, the Commanders' limited partner, comes out publicly saying how injuries and bad luck have defined this season, you know things are serious. Let me paint the full picture. Because this isn't just about losing a game. We're talking about a team that went from 3-0 to 3-4 in a matter of weeks. But that record doesn't tell the real story. The real story is in the injury report, and believe me, it's a scary one. Jayden Daniels, our franchise quarterback, the one who was supposed to take us to the promised land, has been dealing with a knee sprain from a few weeks back. And now, against the Cowboys, added a hamstring strain. The MRI showed it's not a major issue, but his status for the game against the Chiefs in Week 8 is uncertain. Let me ask you this, can you really win games without your star quarterback being 100% healthy? I'll tell you right now you can't, and the numbers back it up. Terry McLaurin, our top receiver, the one constant in this organization for years, has been out with a quad injury. Deebo Samuel, who we specifically brought in to give Daniels more weapons, was inactive against the Cowboys due to a heel problem. Noah Brown is on injured reserve with groin and knee injuries. You see the pattern here? But wait, it gets worse. Dorrance Armstrong, our defensive end, tore his right ACL in Week 7, season over. Austin Eckler, the veteran running back we added for backfield depth, went to IR with an Achilles injury in Week 2, season over. Dietrich Wise Jr. tore his quad in Week 2, season over. Javontae Jean-Baptiste is on IR with a torn pec. Will Harris, our safety, fractured his fibula out. You want to know why this team looks so different from the 2024 version? There's your answer. It's not about talent. It's not about coaching. It's about the fact that we literally don't have the same players on the field. And here's what really stings. In 2024, we were healthy, competitive, playing our best football in years. We made the playoffs, gave this city hope, gave fans across the DMV something to believe in after decades of mediocrity. And now, a year later, we're just trying to stay afloat. Magic Johnson said it perfectly when he pointed out that this season has been defined by injuries. And bad luck, a massive contrast to that playoff run in 2024. And he's right. But here's the thing, in the NFL, you've got to capitalize when things are going well. Because that window closes fast. Real fast. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are laughing at us. Jerry Jones is up there in his suite watching his team tear us apart. Probably thinking the NFC East is his again. The Eagles with Jalen Hurts are building something special. The Giants, well, they're still the Giants, but at least Daniel Jones is healthy and us. We're praying our guys can get back on the field. Dan Quinn said on SiriusXM that the plan is for McLaurin and Samuel to get full practice weeks. That's good, but when? This week? Next week? And in what condition will they be when they return? Because let me tell you something about NFL injuries, it's not just about returning to the field. It's about returning at 100%. It's about trusting your body to cut, take hits, to play with that edge that made you great in the first place. And when you've got so many key guys dealing with injuries at the same time, that chemistry, that rhythm you built in training camp and early in the season, it's gone. This season is teaching us a brutal lesson about roster depth. Adam Peters did a great job building the squad in the offseason. But nobody, and I mean nobody, can prepare for this level of injury devastation. It's like building a perfect house and then watching a hurricane wipe it out. And you know what's most frustrating about all this? We've got the talent. When Jayden Daniels is healthy, he can hang with any quarterback in the league. When Terry McLaurin's on the field, he's an elite receiver who can change a game with one play. When our defensive line is intact, we can pressure and stop the run. But football isn't played on paper. It's played on the field, and if your best players can't be out there, it doesn't matter how smart your scheme is or how good your coaching staff might be. The Cowboys showed us that on Sunday. They dropped 4 points because they knew we didn't have the firepower to strike back. Magic Johnson talked about how 1 year can make all the difference, and he's absolutely right. In 2024, we were riding high. In 2025, we're just trying not to drown. That's the reality of the NFL, and it's why when you get a successful season, you've got to make it count because you never know when your next shot will come. The hope now is that we can recover, regroup, and finish strong. That all these setbacks are temporary. But let me ask, do you really think, with this upcoming schedule with the Chiefs, Seahawks, and Lions on deck, we can turn this around without our key players? I want to believe. I want to have faith in Dan Quinn and Adam Peters in this organization. But the numbers don't lie, and the reality is, we're in a deep hole. And every week we go without getting our stars back, that hole gets deeper. That hole gets deeper. Now, if you thought injuries were our only problem, let's talk about what's happening with our linebacker corps because this is just as alarming. Maybe even more. And this time, it's not about injuries. It's about decline, exposure, and a solution that's sitting on the bench while we watch ourselves get shredded week after week. Bobby Wagner and Frankie Lovu were second-team All-Pro last year. Let me repeat that, second-team All-Pro. These two were a dominant tandem, the heart and soul of everything that worked defensively for the Commanders in 2024. They were the reason we could stop the run. They were the reason we could cover tight ends. They were the brains and brawn of our defense, but that's not the case this season. And the cracks are starting to show badly for any Commanders fan watching. Bobby Wagner. And it pains me to say this because I respect everything he's done. Looks like age has caught up with him, not just in coverage. His football IQ still helps him diagnose plays. But he's clearly slower getting to the point of attack these days. Not even his biggest supporters could argue otherwise after what he's put on tape the last 2 weeks. I watched the Cowboys game. Every time Rico Dowdle or Tony Pollard got the ball, Wagner was 2 steps behind. Every time CeeDee Lamb ran a crossing route, Wagner couldn't keep up. And it's not a lack of effort, he's still a pro, still studies film, still makes the right calls. But the body just doesn't respond the way it used to. As for Frankie Lovu, the attention he earned last season now means more attention from offenses. He's getting blocked more often, schemed against more aggressively. Joe Witt Jr. has also shifted his role slightly, asking him to line up more often as a stand-up edge rusher and area. That's been decimated by injuries. So what does Witt do? Nothing. He's been riding out the storm, hoping things naturally get better. They haven't, and that complete collapse against the Cowboys in Week 7 demands action. Enter Jordan McGee, and this is where I get frustrated because if there was ever a time to give him more snaps, it's now. Witt's been hesitant, citing McGee's lack of experience and his rawness as reasons to keep him limited. But what McGee has that Wagner doesn't is burst and aggression. McGee may not always be in the right spot, but his athleticism can make up for it. The 5th-round pick out of 2024 flashed when he got on the field at AT&T Stadium. He made some solid open field stops, something Witt himself acknowledged. He's got decent coverage ability and plays with that youthful fire that's hard not to love. Does he have Wagner's football IQ? No. Does he have Lovu's leadership presence? Also no, but the best way to learn is by doing. And the Commanders are running out of excuses not to use him more. Here's the truth. If Wagner and Lovu were playing at their 2024 level, this wouldn't even be a debate. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So the Commanders need a spark before this season spirals completely out of control. McGee could be that spark if he's given the shot. And honestly, things can't get much worse. The Cowboys dropped 4 points. 44! When was the last time we saw the Commanders give up 4 points? I'll tell you, when our defense was broken. So why is Joe Witt Jr. so married to Wagner and Lovu playing every snap? Why not rotate McGee and more? Why not let the kid show what he can do when the pressure's on? I think it comes down to fear. Fear that McGee makes a mistake. Fear he's out of position at the wrong time. Fear his inexperience costs us a game. But guess what? We're already losing games. We're already giving up points in bunches. We're already being exposed. So what do we have to lose giving McGee more snaps? At least with him out there, we've got speed. We've got energy. We've got someone who can close on a running back before he picks up 5 yards. Someone who can run with a tight end in coverage. The Cowboys showed the blueprint. They saw Wagner slow, Lovu neutralized, and attacked that weakness relentlessly. And if the Cowboys saw it, you can bet the Chiefs, Seahawks, and Lions saw it too. Patrick Mahomes is going to look at that film and think, attack the middle. Geno Smith will do the same. Jared Goff will too. And unless we adjust, unless we inject some life into that linebacker group, we're going to keep getting torched. I'm not saying McGee is the perfect solution. I'm not saying he's some hidden all-pro waiting to emerge. What I'm saying is we have to try something different. Because what we're doing right now clearly isn't working. Wagner deserves respect for his career. Lovu deserves respect for what he did last year. But respect doesn't win football games. Production does. And if they're not producing at the level we need, we've got to find someone who can. Jordan McGee could be that guy. Or maybe not. But we'll never know if Joe Witt Jr. doesn't give him a shot. And at this point, sitting 3-4 with the playoffs slipping away, we don't have the luxury of being conservative. We need to be bold. We need to be aggressive. We need answers and fast because time's running out. And if you thought the bad news was done, let's talk about today's roster moves. Because this is the cherry on top of what's been a nightmare season for our defensive line. Dorrance Armstrong went down with a knee injury during Sunday's game against the Cowboys. And according to head coach Dan Quinn, he's out for the year. This one hurts for a lot of reasons. First, Armstrong was already dealing with a hamstring issue from the Monday night game against the Bears and still played despite not practicing all. Weekth's the kind of warrior Armstrong is, a team-first player who guts it out, who puts the team above himself. And now his season's done because he tried to help out while banged up. The move's official now. The team's bringing back defensive end Jalen Holmes to the 53-man roster to fill Armstrong's spot. Holmes was released Saturday to make room for Sam Cosmi, who came off the PUP list after an ACL tear in January. Holmes has been with the team since last season and rejoins a defensive line crushed by injuries. And when I say crushed, I mean it. Dietrich Wise Jr. with a torn quad, Javontae Jean-Baptiste with a torn pec, both already on IR. Now add Armstrong. And this D-line looks nothing like it did to start the year. To put it in perspective, Armstrong played against the Chargers in Week 5, Falcons in Week 6, Raiders in Week 7, and Bears in Week 8 before getting hurt against the Cowboys. He racked up 9 combined tackles and a quarterback hit. Solid numbers for a guy doing his job. Now someone else has to do it, and no one on the roster is Armstrong. And here's the real question. How's this defensive front supposed to bring pressure without its key players? How's it supposed to stop the run while constantly rotating backups because of no depth? The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. The Seahawks have Geno Smith. The Lions have Jared Goff. These are quarterbacks who'll pick you apart if you can't bring heat. And with Armstrong, Wise, and Jean-Baptiste out, I don't know how we consistently pressure anyone. Dan Quinn says the plan is to get Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel full practice weeks. That's great for the offense. But what about the defense? What's the plan there? Just hope the guys we've got step up. I still believe in Dan Quinn. I believe in Joe Witt Jr. I believe in this staff. But coaching only goes so far when you just don't have the players. And right now, on the D-line, we just on single quotes Lynn Holmes will give it his all. He's a vet, knows the system, been around. But asking him to replace Armstrong at this stage of the season, when games get tougher and more physical, is a big ask. And it's not just Armstrong, it's the accumulation of all these injuries. Wise, Jean-Baptiste, Armstrong all gone. The depth we thought we had during camp, it's vanished. The Cowboys showed exactly what happens when you can't pressure the quarterback. Dak Prescott had all day. CeeDee Lamb was open constantly. Their run game worked because we couldn't control the line of scrimmage. It all comes back to not having our guys up front. Can you win in the NFL without a healthy defensive line? No way. You can have the best linebacker, safety, corner in the world, but if you can't rush or stop the run, none of that matters. That's the reality we're facing. We've got to find production from guys who weren't supposed to play this much. We've got to find creative ways to scheme pressure. We've got to be smart, aggressive, different, because if we don't, if we just try to play straight up against these upcoming teams, we're going to keep getting lit up. The Chiefs will hang 35, the Seahawks 30, the Lions 40. And at that point, it won't matter how well our offense plays. Even if Jaden Daniels throws for 300 yards, you're not winning games when you give up 35, 40 for dot. So what's the answer? Honestly, maybe there isn't a perfect one right now. Adam Peters will have to look at free agency, see who's out there. Maybe there's a vet cut loose who's still got something left in the tank, but most likely, we'll need to lean on the guys we've got. They'll need to elevate their game, exceed expectations, and find ways to contribute at a level we didn't think they could. If that happens, if Holmes steps up, if some of these younger guys show up, maybe, just maybe, we can stay competitive until our injured players return. But I won't lie, I'm not confident. I'm not going to pretend everything's fine. The truth is we're in trouble, and it's going to take something special, something extraordinary, to climb out of this. Climb out of this. So there you have it, 3 stories painting a tough picture for the Commanders right now. Devastating injuries changing our trajectory completely. A linebacker unit struggling, with a potential answer in Jordan McGee sitting unused. And roster moves forced by more injuries that keep weakening our defensive line. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. You wanted to hear that everything will be fine, that we'll turn this around, that the playoffs are still on the table. And technically, they are. We're 3-4, not 3-10. There's still time, but I'm not here to sell you false hope. I'm not here to act like these problems aren't real. They are dead serious. And if we don't find answers fast, this season's going down the drain. So let me ask, if you were Dan Quinn, what would you do? Give McGee more snaps. Look for defensive line help in free agency. Change the scheme to cover Wagner's speed issues. And about the injuries, do you think we can compete with the Chiefs without Jaden Daniels fully healthy? Do you think McLaurin and Samuel can immediately make an impact coming off time away? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me if you agree with my take or if you think I'm being too negative. Tell me if you've still got hope or if, like me, you're worried about where this season's headed, and if this video gave you value. If you appreciated the deep dive, if you liked how I kept it real, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to keep bringing this level of analysis and honesty every single week. We're family here. We're Commanders fans. We bleed burgundy and gold. We've suffered for years, and we're going to keep standing by this team no matter what. But that doesn't mean we can't be honest. It doesn't mean we can't demand better, because at the end of the day, we deserve a winning team. We deserve to see the Commanders competing for championships, not just clawing to reach 500. And if that means making tough calls, if that means giving young guys like Jordan McGee a shot, then that's what needs to happen. The next 3 games will define our season. Chiefs, Seahawks, Lions, 3 playoff caliber teams, 3 solid defenses, 3 games that will expose every weakness we've got if we don't adjust. But I still believe. I still believe in this team. I still believe in Jaden Daniels. I still believe in Dan Quinn and Adam Peters. And I still believe in you, the best fans in the NFL. So stay with me. Hit subscribe. Turn on the bell. Share this with other Commanders faithful. And let's push through this together, like we always do, like family. And remember, hail to the Redskins.